Hello, I'm Carolyn Black-Sotier, and welcome to Kaleidoscope, your guide to the arts in Harford County. The arts unify communities, and here on Kaleidoscope, we keep you up to date on the county art scene, highlighting local artists and organizers who are working to bring all of us together, making Harford County a better place to live and thrive. So, let's get started. It ranks right up there with such great American traditions as baseball and mom's apple pie. It's barbershop quartet singing. And here in Harford County, for more than 40 years, the Bay Country Gentlemen have been delighting audiences with their award-winning musical harmonies. With me in the studio to tell us how they have kept the music alive through this challenging pandemic is Barry Gabler, Assistant Director. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Well, this is, I know the pandemic has been hard for so many people in so many different walks of life, but if one is a singer, it really puts the kibosh on because of this spreading of aerosols, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
It's very risky. So we've been singing in Harford County, as you mentioned, for a number of years, and we meet in the Bel Air area, right at Emmanuel Episcopal Church.
Okay.
But it's an older church, close spaces, and with the pandemic, with the lockdown and everything else, we knew there were too many studies that showed with the aerosol was just too dangerous to sing indoors. So as a lot of groups did, we started meeting on Zoom. We would have chapter meetings every other week. Mm-hmm. It just wasn't the same, with latency. We tried to sing Happy Birthday one time, and it was a disaster.
Yeah.
So we started looking at other technologies like Jamulus and some other ones that are out there. Jamkazam, I think, is another one. But it still wasn't the same, and we just knew people just were not happy. As a result, we lost some members.
Yeah.
So we started looking at what else can we do.
Okay, and you've become very, very resourceful. So before we get into that, just the Bay Country Gentlemen, you're actually part of a large national organization,
Sure.
Correct? Or is it international? Maybe
it's international. Yeah. So the Barbershop Harmony Society is the name of our organization. It's about 20,000 members in the United States. Worldwide, there's a bunch of affiliates that are related to the Barbershop Harmony Society, about 70,000 members internationally. I forget how many countries, it's like 14 different countries or something like that. And so, yeah, it's been around for a long time. So our Harford County chapter is just one entity. Okay. Here in Maryland. There's several others located in Maryland as well.
But not even a pandemic could silence you guys. So tell me, how did you manage through this? What kind of resourcefulness did you employ?
It was one of those aha moments, So our Barbershop Harmony Society put out a little blog posting, and they had featured a group out of New Jersey, right, called Harmony Hill or Somerset Harmony Hills, mm-hmm. and they had come up with the idea, like seeing other YouTube videos and stuff like that, of people using basically technology to be able to sing together.
Right.
So basically it involved using a mixer, which most choruses own, right? Uh-huh. But getting wireless microphones and then connecting all the wireless microphones to the mixer and using an FM transmitter to mix the audio back out, and people just stay in their cars.
Oh.
So they have a natural PPE shield around them as a singer. And we would space the cars in the parking lot, and so they could still see the director up front, and that allowed us to sing together.
That's terrific. We even see a diagram of how it all works there. So you've been able to rehearse, get together all this time.
Yeah, so we started having rehearsals, I guess it was back in November, mm-hmm. after learning about some of this we attended technical Zoom sessions to learn how to do this. As a result of us having grant money from the Cultural Arts Board here in Harford County, as well as the Maryland Arts Council, mm-hmm. we were able to use some of that money to help buy the equipment that we needed.
Terrific.
So we bought enough for 16 singers, because we have about 12 to 13, 14 active singers. So we bought that equipment, and we were able to at least get back together for us and sing. And the guys absolutely loved it.
That's great. So how did the singers feel about it? Because you get together, every 2 weeks?
Sure, every 2 weeks. And we do that because it is a little more work to get set up with equipment. And we moved it to Saturdays because we used to rehearse on Monday nights. And with it being dark and colder at nighttime, we figured Saturday mornings would be great because, we've been blessed. We've had some great weather on Saturday mornings. And even in December, mm-hmm. we've had some 50-degree days here and there. But it allows us so we don't run into the darkness issues. But yeah, so we meet every other week. We even have sometimes visitors come visit us, people that have heard what we're doing.
Terrific.
From other chapters. We had somebody visit us from the Harmony Foundation, which is a foundation for supporting youth within Barbershop. And so he lives here in the Abingdon area, so he came and shared some information with us.
Okay,
So,
well, we're going to put up your website so people, if they want to get involved and be singers, or are there any plans for a drive-in performance?
So we're working on that. So yeah, since we have this equipment, we can easily have people just pull into a parking lot and turn their radio onto the channel and listen to a concert. So we're working on that.
All right, well, we'll keep us posted. Barry Gabler, good to see you. Keep singing.
Good to see you. Thank you.
The City of Haverty Grace is committed to celebrating the life of Ernest Burke, a Negro League baseball player who lived a lifetime giving back to the community. Later in the show, we'll learn about the life-size memorial sculpture that's been created in his honor. So don't go away. We'll be right back. Did you know the value the arts adds to the U.S. economy is 5 times larger than agriculture and 313 billion larger than travel and tourism? As the pandemic enters its second year, concerns are growing about its long-term impact on our mental health. Since 2014, the Ed Lally Foundation's mission has been to raise awareness of and destigmatize mental illness. Joining me to encourage all of us to come together as a community for the healing process is Jordan Lally, mental health advocate and meditation teacher for the Ed Lally Foundation and singer-songwriter for the big band Big Infinite. Not big band, band Big Infinite. Good to see you, Jordan.
Good to see you as well. Thank you for having me.
Well, you have quite a story to tell, and I so appreciate you coming and sharing it with all of us, because I think it will mean a lot to many people out there who struggle with mental illness, and there are a lot of people who do, right?
Yes, yes.
So tell me about your story, please.
Back in 2014, I lost my dad, Ed Lally, to a battle of clinical depression that culminated in suicide. And as you can imagine, that was impactful for me and my family. But perhaps most notably, it impacted my awareness of my own mental health struggles. I had been dealing with depression and anxiety, social anxiety in particular, for more than 2 decades, but did everything I could to avoid those experiences, those thoughts, those emotions, and certainly wanted to make sure that outwardly I seemed like I had it all together. That wasn't the case. And so the loss of my father really forced me to take a closer look and begin to actively address my mental health, which I did first and foremost just through honesty. I just started to speak openly about my experiences, my dad's experiences. And through that honesty, I really found a great sense of connection with the community. And it was kind of ironic because depression and anxiety had always been the things that isolated me from the world.
Yeah.
And now they became the things that were connecting me. And the only variable that had changed was my willingness to speak honestly.
And that's a good message to a lot of people then out there.
Yeah. It's tremendous the amount of connections I've made just through that honesty. Yeah, it's really powerful. So that was the first facet, and then the other facet was just meditation and mindfulness, which I started right after, literally the day after my dad's funeral.
And you have found that has been extremely helpful.
It has changed every facet of my experiences of depression and anxiety. It used to dominate and dictate my life, social anxiety, like I said, in particular, but now it's just kind of, it's just kind of maybe part of my experience, but it's not the determining part for sure.
Okay. Yeah. So you've taken a passion of yours or a vocation of yours, which is music, and your band, which is called Big Infinite, and created a program around that called Power of Expression.
Yes, yeah. So the band and I were doing the normal independent music thing, you know, playing clubs and shows and festivals across the U.S. Lost my dad, changed everything, and I took a step back from music. When I reconvened with my bandmates, we were inclined in a different way. The songwriting became more honest, and so we started to bring our music for mental health awareness and suicide prevention, and that led us to create this school program, The Power of Expression. So
okay, and I know it's been very effective. Now we've only got like 2 minutes left, which I can't believe. I think I need you for here more than just 5 minutes. So you've taken that also because of COVID. You're not able to go into the schools now, so you've expanded this into a community outreach as well.
Yeah, we have a virtual program now. It serves as a school-based program that can deliver to students virtually, and then we also will be debuting in a couple months a documentary version. So we'll be hosting screenings and stuff like that.
And
well.
I think you've gone to libraries and held.
Yeah, libraries, and so sometimes we'll do the assembly, the Power of Expression, and then we'll have some add-ons afterwards, where maybe I'll do an intro to meditation class, or my bandmates and our co-producer Tara DeCapity will do a creative expression class. So,
okay, all right. So you have something coming up, though.
Yes, we have
something in person.
In
finally.
person, the first time since the pandemic. Our Mindful Triathlon, June 12th at the Hopkins Farm Brewery. So it's going to encompass the entirety of our mental health message.
Right. So it's a little different than the typical triathlon, where you're riding bikes and swimming and things. This is what? Yoga.
Yeah, it's a bit of yoga, mindful movement, meditation, and then creative expression.
Okay, and how can people get more information about your organization and get involved either as a participant or in supporting all the good work you're doing?
Just visit edlallyfoundation.org. Yeah, all the information is there. You can reach out. The contact form there. Community events are all listed there as well.
Okay, and the little time we have left, do you find that there seems to be an increase in the amount of cases of anxiety, and you talk a lot about that. Is that happening?
Yes, that's certainly the case. I think because folks, their sense of control was just lifted from everybody. So people that maybe had some underlying anxieties are now realizing them, having to experience them. So yeah, we've been able to, again, make some more community
Well, we all know
connections.
where to come to. Jordan Lally, thanks so much, and thanks for all the good work you're doing to help folks.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
You bet. All right, from samba to bossa nova, singer Rose Moraes delves into the roots of Brazilian music. Recently, we were lucky to catch up with her, so get ready to be amazed as we shine a light on the talented Rose Moraes.
Her name is Adélia Prado, and the name of the poem called A Serenata, the Serenade. Uma noite de lua pálida e gerânios, ele viria com boca e mãos incríveis tocar flauta no jardim. Estou no começo do meu desespero e só vejo dois caminhos: ou viro doida ou santa. Eu que rejeito e exprobo tudo que não for natural, como sangue e veias, descubro que estou chorando todo dia. Os cabelos entristecidos, a pele assaltada de indecisão. Quando ele vier, porque é certo que ele vem, de que modo vou chegar ao balcão sem juventude? A lua, os gerânios, ele, serão os mesmos. Só a mulher entre as coisas envelhece. De que modo abrirei a janela se não for doida? Como a fecharei se não for santa? Rose Moraes. That is my name. I am from Brazil, and I have been performing for a long while now. And I started when I was 16. My mother was a singer, and she was a beautiful singer. I am from south of Brazil, little town, and they have a lot of festivals around, and I start to win festivals. A band invited me to go to be part of the band. I work at the Cope and I sing. And I used to have a boss. Today she's still a good friend of mine, and she say, "You should follow your dream. You're really good at what you do." I say, okay. And then that band invited me to move to another city and start to sing professionally? And I did say yes. Before that, I went to my house and I asked my mom and my dad. My dad said, whatever you want to do is fine with me. You have my blessing. My mother said, I always knew that's going to happen. This is your story, it's your dream. You go for it. After that, I took off. The song we're going to perform is a music from northeast of Brazil. Its style is forró, and it calls Feira de Mangaio, farmer's market. That's it. And you have to move, you have to dance when you hear that. And then when I came here for the first time, I stayed a couple months and I went back to Brazil and still traveling from that city. I moved to another city, to a bigger city. I went to São Paulo, I went to Rio, I went to Northeast. Yeah, sometimes you get tired of a lot of stuff. And then when I moved here, my sister used to live here and I came and I met my husband. And that's my story. And then I'm here still until today.
Look for a special Shine a Light feature during every Kaleidoscope program. When we return, Jim McFarland will be here from the Ernest Burke Memorial Committee to tell us how the city of Haverty Grace is honoring their native son. But first, here's a glance at the county's arts events calendar. Did you know the total annual economic impact of the arts in Maryland is $1.1 billion? Throughout Ernest Burke's life, he traveled the world as a Marine, professional baseball player, and motivational speaker, but he always returned to his family in Haverty Grace. Here to share how Ernest will be forever commemorated by the city he loved is Jim McFarland, Professor of Art and Design at Harford Community College and an Ernest Burke Memorial Committee member. Welcome.
Hi, Carolyn. Thank you.
Well, I'm a baseball fan, so I'd like, if you would, for those of folks in the audience who don't know much about baseball or about Ernest Burke, can you give us a quick rundown on his incredible life?
Sure. Ernest Burke played for the Baltimore Elite Giants in the Negro Leagues, Professional Baseball League. He was born in Perryville, actually, but
Wow.
his family moved to Haverty Grace at a very young age. and he was orphaned as a young boy. A family that was working on the dam adopted him, took him up to Canada. He grew up in Canada.
Yeah.
And then he came back to the Baltimore area to join the Marines during World War II.
Yeah.
So he's a decorated Marine who had great accommodation when he came out of the Marines. He had learned and experienced baseball in the Marines, came back to Baltimore, tried out for the Elite Giants, made the team, and started to play baseball in this area.
Yeah, I mean, but his story, particularly as a young man, and his work ethic and his commitment to community were there from the very beginning. It's incredible.
Very beginning.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, and so he's a great example to all of us and all the good things that he did. So obviously, Havre de Grace is important to him, and he is important to Havre de Grace. And you're going to commemorate him in an incredible piece of art.
Right, and we've had great community support. So we're in the process. We're very close to the completion of the process of bringing a life-size bronze statue of Ernest Burke to Tidings Park in Havre de Grace.
Fabulous.
It's going to be wonderful, and we've had this support. The city has been behind the project from very early on. There's a resolution that the city passed supporting a sculpture of Ernest Burke, and then the Ernest Burke Committee's been active. It was formed and started doing its work in 2004. So it's been actually a long process.
Yes.
Planning, generating support, fundraising, and then finally we are within probably 10 weeks of installing the work.
So it takes a village and more to make something like this happen.
It takes a village and more, and a bunch of dedicated people.
Well,
there are
we're
a lot
grateful.
of people involved.
We're grateful for all that dedication from government, from private folks, from the community. That's terrific. Okay, so tell us, we have a little bit of time. Tell us about the whole process of how you chose the person to create this sculpture and that whole process.
Sure. So the city put out a request for proposals, and then we sent that request for proposals to all the arts organizations in Maryland and up in Philadelphia, up and down the East Coast, and then released that information to some other sculptors we knew. And then people who were interested in the project sent information in, sent their images in and proposals for the statue in, and then the committee itself decided which artists they were most interested in, which representation seemed to fit the theme the best.
Yeah.
And then members of the committee visited those artists in their studios.
And the one you happened to choose was from Detroit. And a little earlier we showed a clay, there it is, the clay model of the sculpture, right?
Yeah, that's actually the life-size figure in clay that from that the molds will be taken and a bronze piece will be cast.
Okay, so everybody's really excited about it. You said it's only about 10 weeks away. You're going to have a big dedication ceremony. Tell us about that.
On June 26th at 1 p.m. there will be a number of again, community people who've been involved, and I would be remiss not to mention that the county's been involved, the city's been involved, and you mentioned private organizations. So
right. Well, but everybody is welcome and invited to this big event for the dedication. It'll be a momentous time. It's going to be beautiful, and we encourage everyone to go on the website too. People can get also support this. I mean, you're asking for continuing support, correct?
Absolutely. We're still trying to raise that last amount of money, and June 26th is Ernest Burke's birthday.
Well,
so
why
that's our
not?
date.
What a way to celebrate a birthday. Jim McFarland, good to see you. Thanks so much for all the good work you're doing to help make this happen here in Havre de Grace.
Thank you very much, Karen.
All right. Well, there's more to come on Kaleidoscope, so don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Kaleidoscope. As the government-appointed local arts agency, the Harford County Cultural Arts Board is the premier local resource for arts organizations, for artists, and for you, our county residents. The board's mission is to preserve, enhance, and promote the culture of Harford County, Maryland. The Harford County Cultural Arts Board is pleased to announce that Harford County artists Ursula Kane Jordan and Gina Pierleoni are featured in First Lady Yumi Hogan's publication, Artists of Maryland, Visual Art, which was just released by the Maryland State Arts Council. Ursula Kane Jordan is an African-American mixed media artist. In honor of those who came before, she named her art business after her great-grandmother, Eliza Jane Johnson. The inspiration for her art comes from relationships, politics, and culture. Her art is figurative and abstract, symbolic and realistic. Ursula's selected work, Stay Woke, was completed in 2018 and is a mixed media collage on canvas. See more of her work at elizajanefineart.com. Gina Pierleoni uses portraiture to spark conversations about empathy and our common humanity. Portraiture is the opposite of assumption. Her images are acts of deep seeing that push past label and judgments. They seek to de-separate us. Gina's selection from 2020, entitled Luminous, is acrylic, graphite, pastel, and colored pencil on paper. See more of her work at ginapierleoni.com. Congratulations to these talented and accomplished women artists. And that wraps up today's program. Thank you for watching Kaleidoscope, produced in partnership with the Cultural Arts Board of Harford County and aired exclusively on Harford Cable Network. We hope you'll continue to tune in to Harford County's Arts Connection. For Kaleidoscope, I'm Carolyn Black Sotier.